The Greek state is once again running out of cash, and this time there may be no rescue. Alexis Tsipras, who became Prime Minister in January, has sworn he will not follow through with painful reforms that were agreed to by his predecessor. But the country's creditors say that unless he does, they will make no more concessions to Greece. Martin Wolf is the FT's chief economics commentator. Martin, there's a big IMF loan due next week. The wrangling doesn't seem to be going anywhere. Tell us what happens if Greek defaults.
If Greece doesn't get any more money, it looks as though it will find it very difficult to repay the fund. To do so, it's not a huge payment, but to do so, it will have to sort of refuse to pay domestic obligations, civil servants, other suppliers. It could do that, obviously, piling up IOUs. That's one possible way out of that. But the risk here is that Greek citizens will look at this situation. They will decide their government is not going to get money from the Eurozone. Therefore, the risks of its leaving the Euro are increasing. So let's take our money out. The central bank ECB has already indicated it's not going to rescue Greece, or it's very unwilling to provide more money to the Greek government. It's not clear what it would do about the Greek banks, at least in this situation. So there could be another crisis, a more general crisis, and then the question is, what happens then?
And so the rest of the Eurozone has always been very unwilling to let it get to that, for fear that once this happened in Greece, it would only be a matter of time before it happened elsewhere. Are they really willing to take their chances this time?
Well, the impression they're giving, but they would say that, wouldn't they? This is a game, that they are more confident that they can survive. The others are in much better shape. Actually, the markets are showing this. One of the most interesting things is that the spreads on Greek bonds vis-a-vis German bonds are rising and all the others have been falling. So that does indicate that the market to some extent believes the rest of the euro could survive a crisis like this, possibly even a chaotic situation in which Greece starts creating a new currency, defaults and leaves the Eurozone.
Now, Greece must look at this and know very well what's going on. If the rest of the Eurozone's right, this would be a bad time for Athens to be getting more belligerent, wouldn't it?
Yes, but the Greeks might well believe that they're pretending that in this game, in this game of chicken, the others will blink first, as they have so far, and they might feel, well, even if they don't, they can then blame the rest of the Eurozone, and they will be able to handle the domestic fallout by saying, well, look, we've stood up for Greek interests against these terrible bullying Europeans. So this is a situation in which a miscalculation can occur, a very big miscalculation, and suddenly we find we're in a different world.
If Greece does become the first country to leave the Eurozone, do you think it will be the last?
I think it's rather unlikely in the very long run. To say the fundamental imbalances inside the Eurozone, in my view, remain. There are very severe problems. And more important, or as important, once one country has left, people naturally, every time there's a new crisis, it could happen in any of the countries, we won't go into which they might be, people will then say, including their own citizens, well, it's happened to Greece. Maybe it's going to happen to us. Let's be safe. Let's take our money out. In other words, the crises become self-fulfilling. Once you realize it isn't irrevocable, crises will tend to bandwagon, and that makes it more difficult and painful to deal with them. And if the Eurozone becomes sort of a zone of crisis after crisis after crisis, it's not implausible that at some point somebody else crashes out.
Uncertain times. Martin Wolf, thank you very much.
Pleasure.